Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We went to movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey,
Guys, welcome to the Large Marge Tennis Podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shape their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an I.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Do a bit. Do. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's not much left.
Nothing left. I don't know. I could be wrong. Who knows?
Yeah. There's nothing left. Even my mama thinks that my mind is gone, but I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. I just sang this entire song. We had somebody over and I was telling them that we were doing 1, 2, 3 Dangerous Minds for the podcast. I was trying to get you in on that.
Your voice went away, so your dang headphones are doing something weird again. And now I can't hear. It's only sometimes, but we missed the sync up. Yeah, Dangerous Minds, Coolio, R.I.P. Very sad. A lot of people affected by this one.
Yeah. Well, first, young people, when you hear someone died at 59, anything in like the 50s and 60s now, that's young to be passing on. Heart attack, was that the
I don't know.
final someone said to me today? But heart attack?
I didn't follow the story.
Yeah, so Coolio, big part, if you grew up in the 90s, one of the premier rappers. I mean, this was his biggest song, I'd say, but he had some other ones.
1, 2,
2, 3, 4.
Get your woman
on the floor.
Gotta
get up. And the Clueless one, right?
Oh yeah, rolling with the homies, and I think he did the Keenan and Kel theme song, or Keenan and Kel theme song.
Cool.
So yeah, he was a 90s god.
Yeah, he definitely was. And yeah, said sorry to hear of his passing, but reminded me that I had wanted to do Dangerous Minds for a long time, and this is the song like featured in this.
Used liberally, let's say.
Yeah, I heard or learned of this movie because any movie that used a song as the main song and was in like the MTV like sphere, that it would become a video, right? So like the video had to include like bits from the movie almost always. So this song was huge, came out in 1995, a couple like weeks before the movie came out. And the clips from the movie are in this song. You have Michelle Pfeiffer like in the video. Remember, he's like singing around this little boy with like sunglasses, and she like takes off his sunglasses like dramatically at the end. Like it was so moving.
Right, which wasn't in the movie. So it's just like they're just doing a bit for the music video. That's so funny.
Oh, totally.
I remember that.
And I remember watching that and being like, that movie looks so cool. Like, it just looks like a movie cool kids would watch, that you were older, you would watch it. Mm-hmm. Like, it just seemed like, what did we, like, talked about in another podcast, how, I think it was even, like, Breakfast Club. I remember, like, I was 10 years old and crying to Breakfast Club, and I felt so cool, because I was like, I get this. Like, I am older. I understand that the kids are, like, having this emotional trauma and whatever. I just felt really cool. And the same thing. However, I never saw this movie really till much later. Never was able to like stumble upon it. Didn't watch any like sleepovers or anything. And I don't even know if I've seen it like all the way through until this watching.
Yeah, I definitely hadn't. I think you or someone was watching it on TV and I saw clips. Like I definitely remember the exchange of the like, who's your favorite poet? Dylan? Blah, blah, blah. Like that whole thing. I remember that. But yeah, couldn't tell you anything about it. I was definitely like too adult of a movie when I was coming of age, but I did love this song, Gangsta's Paradise, like
it's such
obsessively.
A good song.
It samples one of my faves, Bill Withers' Grandma's Hand. Oh, sorry, that's No Diggity. Sorry. This one samples Stevie Wonder. What's that song called?
Pastime
Paradise. And it's the same. Like, I forget. I don't know what Stevie actually sings in that part.
Yeah.
But it's such a good sample. But great song. Obviously,
I think
very important song to Coolio. You may remember
His
that Weird Al did a parody called Amish Paradise, which was also a pretty big hit at the time, the music video specifically. But famously, Coolio was very upset by that and was just like, this song's not a joke. You can't make it into a joke. And at the time, I think I was like, get over it, Coolio. It's just a joke song. And now, like, in 2022, like in our woke frame of mind, I see where Coolio's coming from, like, with that.
But also I feel like it came too hot on the heels of the real song. I feel like those parody songs like work a little bit better, and then you don't have the artist having such a hissy fit, the original artist, if you leave some distance with the song.
Yeah,
because people are going to hear that song and think, you know, that's going to remind them of Amish Paradise instead of the kind of the more what it should be, Gangster's Paradise, or even poor Stevie Wonder, you know, 3 songs back, Pastime Paradise. So, yeah, I mean, I get that. I think most of the time, Weird Al like left a little bit more room, I think, you know, of the parodies. So that was, I think, a huge part of it.
Feedback for
I remember
next
that
time.
We were listening to Gangster's Paradise. We listened to Amish Paradise right after, and there's this funny line that like the line from Gangster's Paradise is like, even my mama thinks that my mind is gone, and his is like, even Ezekiel thinks that like my mind, because he's breaking too much bread or something.
Yeah. I just wanted to do like churning the butter at one part, like
churn butter once or twice. I mean, it was brilliant, but
silly.
Like, Coolio, I get you. So Dangerous Minds, 1995. Not a lot of famous people in this movie. Definitely some actors that you're like, oh, I remember that lady from like this. You know, I remember that guy from this. Maybe she was. Oh my god, I looked it up. Okay, she was. Okay, let's go over the 2 people that are actually kind of famous, and then we'll go on. So obviously Michelle Pfeiffer as the lead role, Luann Johnson, Miss J. You know, they tried to like ugly her up a little bit and make her like plain Jane. Impossible for Michelle Pfeiffer,
just
right?
Too unique of a face.
Oh my God, you can cut glass with those cheekbones. I mean, unreal. She's so beautiful, and it was just, you know, she's hard to look at. She's stunning to me. I've always thought she's the most beautiful people. And then the only other kind of famous person was Courtney B. Vance as the principal, who like seemed sedated to me.
I didn't even recognize
what
him.
was
like, I did,
wrong
but, like,
with that
didn't.
guy?
Okay, fuck him. I'm really pissed that they made that character black. Like, it really is just like stupid as fuck. But that was disappointing. It was like, let's diversify and we'll give this very racist principal who like doesn't want to give the kids a chance to a role to a black guy. Like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, it's based on a true story, so you can't say that maybe that wasn't the situation. I don't know. I have not read the book, but
no way. I don't
I mean,
know.
it could be.
Maybe if he
we
was,
don't
like,
know. We don't know.
He was rich, like working in a rich school, and like, yeah, maybe if he has like that own. But I just feel like for the tone of this movie, like it just felt very weird and like awkward that he was like not on their side.
Yeah, but like isn't that just trying to take color out of it? People in education in general. I mean, I think this school was a kind of quote unquote good school, and those kids were well, first of all, they were bused there, so that was part of the like, and then they were in this special academy, which was like they would bus these kids who were like problem kids, right? So I mean, I think it was technically like a good school, but anyways, I love that actor, but he was like just his portrayal, which maybe was supposed to be, just felt like he was like sleeping. He was just so strange, like attitude. And then you have like all the kids were really like no one of note. The guy who played Emilio died shortly after this, sad, of some heart illness. So that's sad. And then the vice principal was one of the shoppers in Baby Boom who comes in the Vermont store, and they're like, honey,
Okay.
you look good with the shirt on.
Yes, I can see her. I can like picture her
I
face
know.
now. I'm like, oh my God,
I
what
was
is that
going
lady
nuts.
from? Oh my God, that's so
She
funny.
has credits like
Yeah, she's just,
500
like,
miles long. She has
woman
so many
character
just
actor, yeah.
right, just those little parts. And then the little like fat guy friend was in a lot of movies too, and had a really familiar face, but like can't picture him. And I didn't nothing ring a bell when I was reading his credits. And then the director was John N. Smith. Didn't see anything really that he did, but what a neutral name that is.
Is
John
that
Smith.
real?
I know.
don't believe
That's why he added the middle initial. So as I said, this is based off of the memoir or book by Luann Johnson. So she was a real teacher teaching sort of these problem kids. The title of the book is called My Posse Don't Do Homework. Thank God they changed the title, because they honestly were going to go with that for the movie. And I want to be like, are you crazy? That is the worst title.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's terrible.
yeah.
Just terrible.
And especially from, written from the perspective of a white woman. So I don't know. Obviously, I think from where we are now, looking at this movie, this story smacks of like white savior, right? Mm-hmm. And that is definitely a problem. And they do address it at one point in the movie, I think, with like one of the parents basically saying that, like, I don't want white lady like
she's the
marching in
villain.
here.
They make her
Right.
a villain. So.
Right. But I mean, we can talk about it, but her rationale was like totally crazy. And like, I don't want my sons to be doctors or lawyers.
Yeah,
like,
it was
who says
bizarre,
that?
yeah.
First of all, what do you want them to be? Like, you want them to be on the street. So her head was not in the right place, but she was really just seeing color, right? And just associating with, white people marching in here trying to make everything good for us, and they never help us in any other way, kind of a thing. So I think they addressed the white savior thing a little bit like that. And then I was trying to think of the other movies that have this teacher, saves the kids kind of thing. Because there's been a lot of them in Hollywood, right? So, but all of the ones I wrote down, almost all of them, they were people of color or, I mean, there weren't really that many that I could see like white examples. Remember The Blind Side came out, and that was like a huge critique of that movie. Again, like, white woman saves the day. Like, look at her with all her privilege. But the ones that, that came to mind are Lean on Me. So that's, Morgan Freeman, principal. He's African-American in this largely African-American school, like in the projects. Stand and Deliver. So that's the one with Edward James Olmos. So he's, of Hispanic descent. So that's not a white person. Freedom Writers. So again, you have
You're just talking
Hilary
about
Swank.
teacher movies. Like, white savior
Yeah.
tropes can be any
No, I'm just talking
situation.
white savior in teacher movies.
Okay.
Yeah. And then probably the most famous, To Sir with Love, with Sidney Poitier there. So it really has been like, I would say in large ways, people of color, and then white women, I guess. I'm sure there's examples of white dudes, maybe like more in sports movies. Maybe like that's where the like
I don't know. This
white
one, yeah,
dude
this
one comes
felt
in.
like very much like if you open the dictionary to like white savior tropes or whatever, like you would see a picture of this movie, because it was like over the top like white savior. It was like, oh, we're saving these kids by busing them out of their community into this rich school. And and just like it was just like crazy, and she like goes to their house and takes them out to dinner. Like, it was just like, oh my God. I thought, I was actually really surprised that they were busing them in. I thought all this time that she was just at a school in that neighborhood.
No.
So I was like, oh my God. I was like, well, that makes it a little different. And so then I'm just like confused about, so are these kids only with her for like one class? Is it all day? Like, I mean, obviously we'll talk about it. But
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. Like, they didn't seem to be
either.
interacting with the other kids in the school at all.
But I think it's only one class because I think her friend taught history in the academy. So he was the history teacher. She was the English. So I think that they did like
that was
rotate.
the academy? No,
Yeah,
I don't think so. Because the girl he asked to take over the class, there was like, everyone was like, oh, the like rich girl with like the red hair or whatever.
Oh, okay. Well, when he was grading and complaining like the answers that the kids were giving to the tests, I thought that meant like they were not.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. It was
not,
confusing. I don't know. Who knows? Really didn't
Anyways.
make sense. But
yeah. So, yeah. So, definitely we'll talk about that. It's a little unsettling now, but at the time, these kind of movies came out and it was like, so, oh my God, like, look at this, look at what teachers can do. More like I think thought of it like that. The soundtrack was like a lot of hip hop. So, some other songs, but, I would say like pretty like hip hop leaning. And the soundtrack was put together by Wendy and Lisa, who were part of Prince's The Revolution band in the 1980s. So that's pretty cool. And it was just like such a, I called this like an MTV high school, it felt like. It just feels like, I mean, maybe high schools, we talk about this all the time, we're really like this. But you really would have like, the kid playing like guitar in class and the kids dancing at lunch period and like doing all these cool moves and everyone's wearing like berets.
this is just
and
regular happenings at the school, not inside the class.
Yeah, not inside the class. Like it just felt like this is MTV high.
Yeah,
like this is how, and our, like we've always talked about, our high school is never how like how Hollywood ones are portrayed. I mean, obviously they do it for a certain reason and it's all about like stereotypes and cliques and all that stuff, but it just, I don't know, this movie just feels like part of the MTV 90s generation to me.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah, should we just get into it then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's time for the sweetie synopsis. Yeah, sweeties. Do you know how to do karate?
Luann Johnson is an ex-Marine who desperately wants a teaching job. And we don't know too much about her at this point. She just like shows up. Her friend, vouches for her and is like, yeah, this is my friend Luann, like blah, 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 interview. So.
Well, what do we know about her? She was getting a divorce.
We do know that by then? At the beginning?
So she says, my husband and I are getting a divorce. We were in the Marines and I worked for his software company or something after we were discharged, but now we're getting a divorce. So she needs to get a new job. So that's her reason for, and she has she has teaching experience. She was just short of her certification and she dropped out to get married or something. So like, that's what she was going to do, I guess, prior to meeting her husband or whatever. So she does have a bit of experience, but it's been a long time and she was looking to be a student teacher here.
A student teacher. So like learning to be a teacher.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
Exactly.
But this assistant principal is like very eager to just kind of like wave all that away and be like, oh, here's the deal. Like one of our teachers just left or whatever yesterday. We need a teacher. Can you just start now and like we'll work on your certificate later or something.
Right.
And she kind of grapples with that and is like, oh, I don't know. But then, she does want to teach, blah, blah, blah. So then she's like, okay, great. Like, so yeah, you'll be teaching the academy. And she's like, what's the academy? And the assistant principal like says this like dodgy like answer of like, oh, these like very special kids that we teach. I don't know, something weird. So come to find out, the academy, as we were saying, is this program where they bus in like inner city kind of kids to the school, and they go to a class or something, or a couple classes, who knows. But it's a very rowdy bunch. So she goes to her first day, and the class is, I would say, like over the top ridiculous. I don't know. It just seemed like they went like over the top with this. Like, are they really like that terrible? These kids, like, come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just like loud and like they're like this boombox cranked up, and like one kid looks easily like 45 years old. Emilio, R.I.P. Emilio. Sorry, spoiler. In both. Wow. Anyways. But so she has a bit of a hard time with it at first, and the kids are like chanting, and I think she like pretty much like leaves the first day like with like tears in her eyes, like leaving, like what am I gonna do?
As one would.
Yeah, very upsetting. So her friend kind of gives her like a little pep talk and is like, you have to get them to notice you or something. So the next day she's like, oh, well, I'm going to wear a leather jacket because I'm tough too. And she wears like a cool outfit. And then this time she just writes a sentence on the chalkboard that says, Sweetie's favorite, do you know? Do you
I
know?
am a. Well, first she writes, I am Marine. I was a Marine, or I am a Marine.
I know.
Do you know karate? Yeah. Or I know karate. So, something about karate.
Yeah. So, but she like picks two boys and like teaches them some karate in front of the class, which is like very risky thing to do in a school, especially just like with this rowdy of a class. So, but she does it, and the kids like it. But then she tries to teach them things in addition to that, and they're like, no, like I just want karate, blah blah blah. So of course the assistant principal and like whatever finds out about it, and they're like, you are not allowed to teach the kids karate. And she just kind of passes it off. It's just like, well, I'm new, I didn't know, blah blah blah. So now she starts kind of like changing your game up. So she tells them that they all have an A. Like it doesn't matter like what happened before. They all are starting with an A. So it's just up to them to keep it. So they like that. Then she promises them. She starts talking about poetry, and they kind of take the bait a little bit. And they're like, "What's poetry?" And she tells them like if they read a poem, she'll take them to this amusement park.
I mean, basically her teaching style at first is bribes.
Yeah, like, it's all bribes.
This is a playbook for like how to be a teacher. The number one rule is bribes.
Right.
Like,
it
works, man.
I mean,
the candy bars.
Yeah, she needed to get them on her side. So once she kind of like
works.
Gains that trust, she starts, making this lesson plan cater more to like what they would be interested in. So instead of like reading boring ass poetry or like starting with that, she uses a Bob Dylan song as poetry, and so they talk about those themes, and they're really interested in that. And then she like makes them like use what they learned in that to like understand like Dylan Thomas poetry, so it like comes full circle. So very, very ingenious way of doing it. Give her props for that. So along the way we meet like I would say like three main characters probably of these kids that like have made an impact on Luann. So the first one is, we'll start with Raul. So Raul is a Hispanic boy who I guess is like into some gang stuff, it sounded like.
Yeah, it seems like he's light in the gangs, or maybe he has a toe in the gangs.
But he's like smaller. He's like not huge. He's definitely like one of the nicer ones that like she kind of noticed like right out the way. So
he was always asking questions.
Right,
and, at least like seemed interested off the bat.
Totally. So she goes to his house one day after a fight had broken out between Raul and his buds with Emilio, after Raul and his buds got suspended, or did they say expelled? No, suspended.
No, they're just suspended.
She goes to his house and like talks to his parents, and she's like, I just love Raul. He is so nice. He's my favorite student. He's so bright. And the parents are like, oh, wow, that's so great. And Raul's like, yeah, I am great. And then he kind of like has this confidence in himself. So that's like that cute thing. And then we have Callie, who is a very like the smartest kid in the class. She's very bright. But you come to find out that she's pregnant, and she's going to have to leave the school because the school doesn't want pregnant teenagers, running amok in the hallways. And
that's a bad example.
She's very devoted.
Pregnancy is contagious.
She works.
That's what they said.
Yeah, she works all the time. If she's not in school, she's working. So she's a very busy gal. And then lastly, Emilio is like the gang leader of this class, basically, of this class as a gang, but he, like I said, easily pushing 30 years old, like right off the bat. I'm like, how long have you been in this school? Be honest. Just like,
and he's
very
kind of a rape artist,
oh my God.
We'll say.
Huge rape artist. Like,
he made me very uncomfortable. Yeah. And like, she kind of played into it and felt like she kind of liked it.
It was weird.
Like the sexual stuff he was saying to her.
Yeah.
And like, he's supposed to be also, you know, like Latin or Hispanic. So I think that's kind of part of his, what is it? Machismo, you know, that like whole thing. So that's like part of his deal. The viral, you know, viral.
What's viral?
Viral
What is that?
Emilio. Like, you know, virility, like has to do with your
I was like, viral.
Your
You're going
penis.
viral. I don't know.
But yeah, but at one point, Callie tells her, if you get Emilio, like you will get the rest of the class. Because as Sweetie said, he is not only kind of like the gang leader, really kind of like of the school, but then also in this like microcosm of this class.
So how does she win him over?
So they get into this fight, so with Raul and Emilio, and she like does this dumb thing where she's like, you have to promise me you're not gonna fight anymore, and they're like, yeah. And then like literally a second later, Emilio's girlfriend was like, you're stupid, why'd you do that, like they're gonna fight anyway, and she was like, what, they are?
Yeah.
So then she is able to get out of the girlfriend that they're gonna fight in the locker room. So she like has to tattle on him there. So like both the boys get expelled. You know, she's finally realizes that what she did was wrong, and mostly because it made like Raul look really like weak in front of everybody, and that's like why he really had to fight. Anyway, so to write this all, like she goes to everyone's house, and Emilio like learns about this, and then that's what turns him, right? Like,
did she try to go to Emilio's house? Is that the house she knocked on? She was like,
yeah, they don't see, you don't see him
find
talking.
Out what happened? Like,
right, you don't. but just that he was very touched that she went to like all the kids' houses, I guess, and talked to the parents and made all the parents think their kids were doing like a really good job. And that's how she got to like, even because the kids think she's snitched on them because you know the fight got brought up, like broken up in the locker room and blah blah blah. So anyway, so Emilio becomes like kind of on his side, and he's asking questions. He wouldn't even like answer questions when she would ask in class, and now he's like answering questions and making these like kind of smart statements about they're reading like a Bob Dylan song again, or maybe this is a Dylan Thomas poem at this point, and he kind of like gets it. And she's bringing up, this movie has a real theme of like death to it. She brings up almost all these like dark poems about death and choosing to live and all this stuff. And it's supposed to like, she was connecting to their what is their dangerous life, their life on the streets and their life at home or with these gangs and stuff like that. So they relate, they don't think they have any connection to this. When did Dylan Thomas write? 1800s? Right? 19?
I don't know. Wasn't my
anyway, this old stuffy Irish poet, right? So she does a good job of that, and now she's like besties with all the kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So the kind of like climax of the movie is that she finds out that Emilio had like insulted or something, like this crackhead who just came out of prison.
No, his girlfriend.
Angela, his girlfriend, used to date this guy. And now, blah, 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 bad things happening. So Emilio had, like, brought a gun to school, was going to, like, fuck this guy up. But Angela tells Ms. J, and Ms. J lets him stay at her house. And she, like, talks, like, that, too. That, like, when she was like, you're staying with me. And, like, I was kind of shocked at that, too. And actually, throughout this movie, I was, like, trying to swap like the gender of the teacher with like and like if this was a reverse situation, like so creepy. It is it's creepy to me now still, but like it would be so much worse too if it was a male teacher with getting like very close to these female students and being like, stay over my house.
Yeah.
But
and she does, and we kind of miss like how she goes to other people's homes too. So
no,
like
I
goes.
said that too. Well, I was talking about the Raul one, and then
No, but like the other kids. So like
Oh.
she goes to Callie's house, and they live in like the concrete like projects, like style of projects. If you've ever seen those, they're like concrete walls basically. And she goes there and she sees like Callie's mom, and like she has a little sister, and she's trying to convince her she's supposed to go to the school for like pregnant girls. And so she's going to drop out of the program that they're like Miss J's teaching, Luann's teaching. And so she doesn't want her to do that. So then she has this big talk with her, like, I want you to stay. And she's like, no, like, I want to go to the school because they teach you how to like take care of a baby. Like, she's not wrong. That's like probably a good idea. But like Miss J thinks she can be more than that. And like her boyfriend doesn't trust her, you know, so. And then she goes to this other, so she has these twin boys who I did not realize that they were
didn't know
twins.
they were twins either.
Until there's two of them,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
I was like,
wait
a minute.
it wasn't the same guy
Yeah.
like twice. Oh my god! I mean, in the class, I just didn't didn't dawn on me those guys were twins for some reason.
Yeah, they
So
never
anyway,
talked
she
about
goes.
it.
No, so they I forgot what their names are. Darrell and I
I
forgot
don't
what the other
remember
one was.
the twin that we didn't know existed. The other
Yeah,
one.
Darrell and Terrell or something probably. They sounded alike. And so they're on the front porch of their house. They haven't been in school for a week. And she's like, why haven't you boys been in school? And like the mom comes marching out and she says, like, are you the teacher? Like, get out of here. Like, my boys are not going to your school anymore. Like, they need to, you know, they need to be working for a living. She was very disturbed that they were learning poetry, that was useless, that shouldn't be filling their brains. They need to go out and make money. Like, so and that's when we were talking about in the beginning, how she just kind of says like, get out of here, you white savior lady, and confronts her for just, you know, trying to save people. She doesn't understand their situation, you know. So she has a mixed bag in terms of, you know, she's doing all these good things, but she is getting a lot of pushback on all these good deeds she's trying to do.
So she finally convinces Emilio to go talk to the principal so that like he'll help him with the situation with this loose cannon. And when Luann gets to school, she finds out that Emilio tried to talk to the principal, but the principal turned him away because he didn't knock on the door. And so Luann is just like, oh God, like, why'd you do that? He didn't knock on the door. And she's pissed because she knows that means that like he didn't get help when he asked for it. So now he's going to be like, forget it. And then is going to go out there and get killed. So she's teaching class, blah, blah, blah. And then the assistant principal comes and is like, Luann, I have to talk to you. Tells her that unfortunately Emilio was shot. He's dead. So she's like, are you going to tell the class? Like, it was kind of I was like surprised. She was like, you didn't tell the class right now? Like, whoa, okay. But yeah, she goes in, tells them. Everybody's super upset. She's upset. And she basically has like a crisis of character at this point and decides that, you know, she's lost her faith in the school system, like how the principal just like turned that kid away when he was like clearly looking for help. Upset that Emilio's gone, just like, you know, just very upset. So she's not going to come back and teach next year, which I thought was like very like it was like shockingly something she would like never do. Like through everything we've learned about her in this movie, for her to just be like, yeah, I'm not going to come back because I'm scared or something. Yeah. It was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, bitch, like, what do you, like, you know, they need you. Like, why she cared about showing her care about these kids so much, and then having like that be her decision, just like barely thought about it. It was just like bloop doop, yeah, I'm not coming back, sorry. And like what pissed me off the most was like how she didn't realize the kids would get so like emotional about it and attached. Like, hello, where have you been? So so they're obviously very upset, and like they feel like she's the only one that's ever like actually helped them learn anything, and like she was on their side and they could trust her, and now they lose that. So at this point, Callie comes back and kind of does like some final convincing for, you know, they all just like say nice things, and I don't know, there's like some words exchange. She cries a little, maybe, I don't know, and then decide, okay, I'll come back. And so just kidding, like, here I am again. So everything's good in the hood. or in the not hood, because
Literally.
they got bust in.
They got busted out of the hood.
But yeah, that's the movie. It was like surprising that, yeah, I guess just the ending like really surprised me that she would even think about not coming back because of what happened. Like,
well, it
very
felt
weird.
like anticlimactic, the ending, or rushed or something.
Well, 'cause the
I don't
climax
know.
was Emilio's
yeah.
death, and like, you know,
But
it
then
just
it was just like, yeah, I don't know. It just felt like kind of a throwaway ending a little bit to me. Also, I felt that this movie was a lot less cool than the video made it out to
I
be.
know.
Like, the
I
kids
don't-
weren't that tough.
they're
There was
not that
one
dangerous.
fight.
Yeah.
No.
That's what
There
I was thinking
exactly.
too. I was like, barely any. They don't show like any gang activity or
No.
involvement. You just hear them like talking about it. They're
You
like,
don't even see a gun.
right?
Like, I
not
think
anything.
they talk about
No
it. You
drugs,
don't even see
nothing.
it.
Like that teacher smoking more
Right.
than these kids like ever
Oh
were.
my God.
And
That's what I was triggered by. The chain smoking. He was smoking in the
I was
school
like, man,
while he
this
was
would
grading
be
papers.
a perfect meme. Those memes that's like, tell me you're watching a movie in the 90s without telling me you're watching a movie in the 90s. And it's just a shot of him like walking up the school steps, like,
Yeah.
like chain smoking. And
I mean-
nothing came up. Like, I thought they were going to like slowly build up to him like having a heart attack or something and dying because like, why are they? And he's like keep coughing and you're like, oh my God, something bad's going to happen with this guy. Nothing happens with that guy. He's just
Nothing.
like fat and smokes too much. Like,
Yeah.
very strange.
Right.
And I guess
Right. And
he was a
it's-
Marine too. Like, okay.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think
you
so.
know. But yeah, it just seemed like the kids didn't seem dangerous at
No.
all. They
No.
seemed just like rude. They like just weren't used to like having a teacher who cared, you know, that common like no one cares about them. So like why I mean my question, I mean, she does ask this in the movie, like, why are these kids even showing up like before they had a good teacher? Like, why were they even showing up? I mean, they did have parents, and the parents that they show are very like they don't show any bad parents, you know, which you would think, oh, these kids are like bad news and bad behavior. They're gonna have these parents who either don't care or are abusing them or something, and like you don't see any of that. Like the parents, like Raul's parents seem really nice. Callie's were. You don't really see Emilio's, and I'm wondering if like maybe that wasn't a great situation. Like I don't know why they don't have you visit Emilio's. Why show him and then just
Because he doesn't live
you know,
there or
not have
something,
anything?
maybe?
I don't know. I was convinced. I made a movie in my head again. Like I had already seen this, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I remember this. Like Emilio is abused. That's why he's a bully or something. That's what I like convinced myself. And then I was like, oh, this is the part where
I mean,
like
that's also,
you know she's
that's an episode in Full House, so maybe you just got confused.
it's a lot of bullies issues, right? They themselves
Yes.
are abused, so then they abuse other people. Anyway, so yeah, I just thought I was very like it was a sweet movie, but it just did not fit the in like the feeling of that Coolio video. I gotta say, I was like super underwhelmed.
What was this rated? PG-13?
I want to say R.
Okay, R.
Because of the
it
swears.
feels very PG-13, like as your
It does.
like a PG-13 version. So this movie. So what year did this come out?
95.
Okay, so this movie was one of like the earliest examples I had. Or sorry, this. Okay, no. Yeah, this movie is like an early example of that phenomenon where like two movies came out at the same time that were basically the same movie. You know, pretty much same exact plot ish.
Yeah.
Whatever. So this other movie that had come out at this time was called Kids. And I remember like the poster was like this like splat. I don't know. It was just like different colored letters and whatnot. So my dad and I, as the story goes, my dad and I went to go see a movie one day, and the movie that we were going to see, which was like one of the only movies I could see, was sold out. So this was, you know, back in the day, a lot of people came to a movie. It was probably Men in Black or something. But I remember vividly the guy being like, I'm sorry, oh, that's sold out. My dad was like, oh, geez. And he's like looking at the movies up there, and he's like, what's Kids about? Thinking like, oh, a movie called
God.
Kids must be fine for my 7-year-old daughter. And the movie theater guy goes, it's rated NC-17. And I had no idea what that meant. And I was like, Dad, what does that mean? Like, I think I asked him after. And so that was the first time I learned what NC-7, that there was a rating that was like more severe than R. Like, it was just like this crazy realization that I was like, oh my God, the world is so much scarier than I thought. And so I have a feeling that Dangerous Minds is like the B team version of Kids, because I have heard
The
that Kids
Disney
is like,
version.
sorry, yes, the Disney version. Like I've heard Kids is like pretty brutal. So
Brutal. One of the most brutal movies.
oh, you've seen it?
No, but that I don't know if we should watch it for the podcast. It's like would be tough
I mean,
to like
I feel
go
like
over.
I
But
have to now.
that was the movie that was like talked about as the like you got to see this movie when I was like in middle school. Like you got to see this. This is like they've never shown this kind of stuff in a movie. Like it was real stuff being filmed almost. Like they used kind of like real kids from Brooklyn. Remember this was covered in the Soleil Moon Frye documentary we watched? No.
I don't remember, but I remember we've talked about it on the podcast. I forget for what.
She
but, like,
knew some of the kids in that movie.
No, I
mean,
know,
they
but like I
really
remember we
were-
talked about Kids another time on this podcast during like another movie. But I mean, I want to watch. I need to see what that. I mean, you know, that's been like an interest for ever since this incident happened. But yeah, it's this movie Dangerous Minds very very lame.
Yeah, super lame. Just now I pulled it up to see what it was rated, so it was rated R. I'm watching the trailer. Okay, these kids look like killers in this. Like they make all the people in the previews look like they're like all in gangs. They're all angry.
This is why I
really
thought
sweet.
That's why I thought she must have had taught at their school. Like it didn't in my head. That's why I thought that. So that's why I was shocked. So it was immediately like, okay, what?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I'm bummed about how lame this movie was.
Yeah. But I think the thing that sticks out the most to me in this movie is just like the overusage of Gangsta's Paradise. So in most, I mean, I'd have to look into this a little more closely, but I would say like in most Hollywood like blockbuster movies that are using a very famous song, that song is usually used in just like one moment in the movie, typically like over the end credits or maybe the beginning credits or like one random like breakout moment or whatever. Small exceptions for something like Titanic where like they use the theme of My Heart Will Go On kind of like throughout the movie but with like strings. In this case, they play the same beginning, like dee, dee, the strings. They play that, I counted at least 3 times, like maybe 3.5. There's one I was like, is this it? But anytime something dangerous was happening, they would play that music. And it just became like comical after a while of just like this theme. Like, why wouldn't they just use it as the end credits song? Like, you don't need that song in there at all. And it just seems so cheesy to have the same, not even like different parts of the song, the same exact part of the song playing at 3 different moments in the movie. Like such a bizarre choice. I could not believe it. So yeah, that just really, that stuck out the most to me. I was just like, this is silly.
I wonder if they like were on, they're like, we're going to use this song in the movie. Is there any like contract that they make with like the artist or something being like, we're going to use this song? Like,
I mean, I don't know. It's not even, you don't even hear Coolio's like words at all in it, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it just like
it's
the music?
Which is like really the Stevie Wonder. I mean, that's like the Stevie Wonder
he's
song.
Gonna get more. He gets more play just from the music video, I would think. Like he's fine. Like he doesn't need it to play like 3 times in the movie. So I don't know. I would love one day to meet the person who was behind this artistic choice and just like see if I can understand why they did this.
They knew we loved the song.
I know, but like I don't know. It was strange.
It was strange.
But yeah, that's all I had to say, pretty much.
Okay. I'll say a couple more things. So it did make me want to be a teacher for like 15 seconds. And then I remembered how hard teaching is. It sucks and you don't get paid anything, et cetera, why we lost like half the teacher population post-COVID. It's a hard job. You know, somebody's got to do it. It's not going to be me. But it does... it did make me want to be a teacher and really have that like change someone's life feeling and getting like, you know, really creative, like we said, using the Bob Dylan song lyrics to teach, you know, poetry. Really, song lyrics are another form of poetry if you want to think of it like that. So yeah, just like really awesome. And it kind of made me, as the nerd I am, want to go back to school. I was like, dang, I want to learn about poetry. And I never like loved the poetry units, I will say, because I feel like the poems we read were like kind of lame. You know, when you take English classes, they teach the same like 15 poems unless you have a really cool teacher.
They should have used this technique for all students. Like,
exactly. I know.
Yeah.
It was really smart, but poetry can be really cool. But I remember sometimes, especially when you had a poetry unit or something, there was like, you know, you'd be reading it line by line and the teacher would be like, now what does everyone think this means? And the great thing about poetry is that you can kind of like make it almost like whatever you want it to be in like a lot of ways. And especially in English class, like a lot of times the teachers would just be like, okay, yes, maybe. Like they just like give room for everybody, you know, because they wanted people to like, you know, connect with it and just express, because it's all in so many ways literature has that like subjectiveness to it. So yeah, it just made me like want to go back to school. Wicked bad. Okay, so she walks into the school and they're like, you know, yeah, you're not going to be a student teacher. Like, we need you to, you know, would you like this real job? And she takes it and she says, okay, we're going to pay you $27,000. Did that sound like a lot or a little to you?
What was it again? 27,000?
Yeah. Yep.
Little, I think. I mean, I'm an adult, so I know what what my salary was in 2015, which was, and so I don't know, or maybe not. I don't know. Now it sounds like a little, but thinking about it now, I'm like, oh, maybe that was kind of a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
For that time period.
So in today's dollars, that would be $52,000. So I feel like that's...
I mean, for a first teaching job right out the gate without a certificate, like, oh, that's pretty good. I mean, she was excited about it, right? I think in her mind, she thought like that was a lot of money.
Something, yeah. Okay, and then lastly, who was your favorite student?
Raul, obviously. So there's this really cute part where the winners of the Dylan contest, which is that cool thing I was kind of talking about, where she's like, they know what the tambourine man means, like find a poem from Dylan Thomas that kind of has the same themes. So they're all like in the library, like combing over all these Dylan Thomas books, and Callie, Raul, and Darrell is the other one on that team. They find the famous Dylan Thomas poem, "Do Not Go Gently Into That Good Night," and they win. And so the prize is Ms. J takes them to dinner at this like fancy restaurant and like pays for it. So like in like weird turn of events, Callie can't go because she has to work. And Miss J's like, no, we'll bring the chicken to you. Darrell can't go because I guess he can't work either, but nobody offered to bring him a chicken. So
that's what I thought.
I was like really upset. And then I was like, is that why Darrell stopped coming to class? Like maybe because you didn't buy him a chicken like you did for Callie. So I thought that was strange. But the only person that shows up is Raul. So now Miss J is on a date with Raul at this restaurant, which is, again, this is the other part I was thinking of, like, would be so inappropriate if it was like changed gender swapping here. But he's so cute, and he wears this like nice leather, this like jacket. He's like, do you like my jacket? Like, but it's special, blah blah blah. But then you find out he like had to do something bad to get the jacket, and he owes those people money, and he's gonna get killed or something if he doesn't give them $200. So he's just, I don't know, he was just like so sweet, and like I loved him. So yeah, he was my fave. Team Raul.
He was definitely the best. Yep, Team Raul, totally. Runner up for me was Girl with Bangs. I just feel like
her. At the end,
like,
she really came alive for me.
Lines, but she had like so much presence, and like I just love that character, and like the one tear that like drips down her eye.
Yeah. Do we even learn her name?
No, you don't. I mean, she always has a Letterman jacket on, so you're like, okay, where did you get that? Like, she must be involved somehow in the school in other ways, like, I don't know, sports or chorus or whatever. I don't know.
Are you saying,
but she always
she can't be, black people don't play sports? What the hell are you trying to say?
No,
she could have a Letterman jacket.
Whatever.
It could just be a fashion statement.
I know, but then the only other person I saw was like a kid who I think was like an athlete in like the lunchroom, like the quad area. Anyways, and she has these like crazy bangs that you're like, bitch, how do you see with those? But she does.
She says something funny at the end too, when like Miss J's like crying. I forget. She like is like, like, come on, like blah blah. I don't know, something. But yeah, I loved her too. Yeah, good call out.
Yeah, she was great. I mean, the kids are like do make this movie in like a lot of ways. So I think, Michelle Pfeiffer, I did like a really good job. I thought her performance like was good. Yeah. She was really convincing. She has like kind of like a Southern accent or a Midwestern accent to it. Does this take place in California?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, with like the kind of Hispanic population. Okay. Yeah. But I wish I could go back to, Time Machine 1995 and tell my younger self, like, not that cool of a movie.
Not that badass.
Yeah,
like
it's not. The kids are not
cheesy.
That bad. Are the kids dangerous? Like, I
do
feel
they
like
have dangerous minds? I don't know.
Yeah, they just like I just feel like they could have made the kids badder if they really wanted to like make that point.
The kids in Save the Last Dance were badder, like way better than this. Although I guess that wasn't what they weren't like bused to a school. I guess we don't really see them in their own environment outside from their homes, which was weird too. But yeah, I guess I didn't know it was based on an actual autobiography, so that's interesting.
Sweetie Book Club, but never gonna happen.
That makes it more suspect because like a white person extolling their like good deeds that they did to other people through a book is like very Green Book, right? Like it's very like,
totally.
Like, okay, yeah, of course you did these great things because you're telling this story. So, it's interesting. I have a lot of thoughts, but we don't have time to get into them now. Anyways, anything else?
No, I think that's it. That's all my notes.
Cool. R.I.P. Coolio, miss you, love you. You're great. Love you.
Been spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise.
So, if you want to talk to us, come find us. We're on Twitter at The Sweetie Club, but I won't respond to you probably. I forgot about that. Oops. And on Instagram at Large Marge. Sent us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye.
Bye.